What
think
is
you're
up,
on mute.
everyone? Oh, wait. Am I on mute? Is my
You
mic
were.
working
You're good.
on?
You're good now,
Okay,
brother.
okay,
You're
okay.
good.
Okay, what is up, everyone? My Wi-Fi was lagging a little bit, so I was slightly behind. But anyways, what is up, everyone? Welcome to
Hold on.
another episode of the Camper Report. We've got Ryan Hensley in the building, and you guys have probably heard a lot about him. All the YouTubers that I watch have heard a lot about him. So very excited to have him on today. How are you doing today, Ryan? And excited to have you on. I mean, it's been a while. We've been talking for a while, but finally this week you had some time. I have time off from school. So excited to get a show going.
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Sorry about that. I had some my other computer for my work computer was making noise. I had to turn it
Oh, you're
off.
good. You're good.
But yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. I imagine you're on spring break, huh?
No. So basically I'm homeschooled, but I do there's this group that we have, and so I think it's like winter break right now or something. So I have a
Oh,
week off.
okay.
But yeah.
Good, man. Thanks for having
But
me on. I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm excited to talk Niners. That's basically what the topic of discussion today will be, mostly just Niners topics. But let's kick things off. The first topic, kind of like breaking news that we had yesterday. Brock Purdy's surgery has, I don't know if it's been postponed, but they said they'll check on it again, the elbow, in March. And basically they went in to do surgery and they found that it was too swollen. And so they can't have surgery on Brock Purdy's elbow right now. So is it time should we start panicking as Niners fans? And who would you want the 49ers to pick up as a quarterback if they were to get someone in free agency?
Yeah, so he went to pre-op and they saw it was too swollen to do surgery. He was scheduled to have surgery today. So they had to delay that to, they said, the beginning of March, early March. Really no timeline on that. Um, you know, I've been saying for a while now since the injury that doesn't seem like to me that he's going to be around for week one. I've heard doctors and the 49ers say that maybe he can be available for week one. Never felt like that to me. I'm familiar with injuries and possible delays and things that can happen to push things back. So I've always kind of thought that Trey Lance was going to be the week one starter. You know, whether that continues throughout the season or not is to be determined. It'll be determined on how well he plays and how Brock injury timeline for recovery comes, or how fast it goes. So it's not really a big reason to panic. I don't think for me, this is what I expected anyway. So it's not a different situation than I anticipated to begin with. So not a big deal to panic, but I will say the 49ers they're approaching a season again with a lot of questions at the quarterback position, right?
Yes.
Trey Lance is still unproven, hasn't played, good or bad. We don't really know about Trey Lance. Brock Purdy coming off of UCL surgery. He had 7 or 8 really good games as a rookie, but you can't really determine much off that either. So losing Jimmy Garoppolo, I've never been a big Jimmy Garoppolo fan, to be honest. But having him, at least you knew what you had going into the season. Now with the 49ers, they don't really know what they have in Brock Purdy coming off the surgery or in Trey Lance coming off the surgery. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns. 49ers are going to need to, in my opinion, draft a quarterback and also sign a free agent. There's a lot of good free agents. In my the high end that I would like to see the 49ers go after would be like a Jacoby Brissett. He's going to be, expensive, not like Derek Carr expensive, but he's not going to be cheap. That's who I'd like to see them target if they're going to go in that mid-range area, because in my opinion, they need to get somebody on the team that can start and win games. They can't just get by with an average third stringer as a backup type role based on the history of the 49ers with injury. So I don't think there's a real reason to panic, but they definitely need to figure out the answer at quarterback.
And you want a guy who can kind of, I don't know, you want a smart, mature quarterback if you're looking for somebody in free agency. That's why I'm not too interested in names like Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield, because it's like, what do those guys like? There's been questions, especially Baker Mayfield. There's been questions about their leadership many times in the past. And so Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Did you?
Say it
Anyways,
again.
I apologize, everyone. Wait, am I back again?
I can hear you. Yep.
I'm good. Okay, okay. Good. So I apologize, everyone. My Wi-Fi is acting up. But um, anyways, I don't really know if the 49ers want a guy like Baker Mayfield, who there's been questions about his personality in the past. And I think if you're the 49ers, you're looking for a guy who can mentor Trey Lance. I mean, even though this will be his third year in the league, you need a guy who can kind of go alongside him and teach him things. And so I just don't know if Baker Mayfield can be that personality type that the 49ers want. That's why I think Jacoby Brissett is a really good option, as you said.
Yeah, I like Jacoby Brissett, man. He was able to win some ball games for Cleveland. He actually looked better than Deshaun Watson. So I think whoever gets him, they're going to get still. The problem with Jacoby is he might be able to find a starting spot somewhere. So he may not be interested in the 49ers. That's going to be the high end, in my opinion, what the 49ers can get. They'll probably end up getting something lower down the totem pole, maybe like a, who knows? Like there's so many guys out there, Mike White, Gardner Minshew. I mean,
I
there's a
like
ton of
Gardner
guys.
Minshew. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not great, but he can win some games, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see, man. Big mystery. We'll see what happens, but they definitely need to find another quarterback. I think they need two more. Honestly, they need to draft one. They need to sign a free agent.
And if you're talking about Trey Lance, like we were all writing him off, like well, I wasn't writing him off, but
Mhm.
definitely his future was looking pretty bleak about a few months ago. And now, he's back in, he's probably maybe going to start a few weeks in the season. And if he can play well, if he can play well, I think he can maybe get his starting job back. So it's a great situation for him. And we were a few weeks ago or just a few months ago saying, should the 49ers trade Trey Lance? And now he's back in the thick of it. So it's amazing to think of that.
Yeah. I mean, I never wrote off Trey Lance. I think that what a lot of people need to remember is he's only 22 years old. He's younger than most of the
Yeah.
quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year. He's got a long future ahead of him. Whether he finds his grip here with the 49ers or with a different organization, he's still young. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Whether he works out to be a phenomenal quarterback or not is still to be determined. But I wouldn't be writing him off yet if I was anybody. And, everyone that was talking about trading him, I thought was ridiculous, to be honest. Look at where the 49ers are right now. If they would have traded Trey Lance, they would have 0 quarterbacks for week 1. So that's why I always said, let's not trade Trey Lance. Let's not jump the gun. Let's give him time. Let's be patient. Coming into the NFL, I kind of expected this. I didn't expect him to get injured, but I expected him to have a slow start just because of his lack of experience. So this is all on pace with kind of what I expected outside of the injury for Trey Lance. And he has all the potential in the world. I think he just needs time and playing experience.
What you said on the age thing before we move on, there's a quarterback in this year's draft, Hendon Hooker, who's like 25 years old. So
Yeah.
hold your horses. I mean, that guy's probably going to get like 2 big contracts and then be so
Yeah.
I can't believe that Trey Lance definitely young compared to that guy who's going to be a rookie this year, and Trey Lance has already been in the league for 2 years. So it's kind of crazy to think about that. But let's move on to the next topic. Underrated trades that the 49ers could realistically get done that you would want to see them make. What are some trades? I could start off with one, and this is something I want to pick your brain on this. Deebo Samuel for Aaron Rodgers, and then you add in maybe like a third. I don't know what the pick compensation would be to send, like that the 49ers would send Green Bay, but something involving Aaron Rodgers for Deebo Samuel and pick compensation, maybe a few other players that the 49ers send the Packers' way.
That would be a tough one. Deebo Samuel for Aaron Rodgers, you're probably going to have to include a couple firsts in there as well. So it's going to be hard, especially if 49ers don't even have a first this year. It'll probably be the next couple years is also. And, Aaron Rodgers is going to cost a ton of money. Seems like to me that the 49ers are okay with going into the season with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance as their starters. They're both very affordable together combined. They're under $10 million between the two of them. I think that's what the 49ers have to do and are looking to do. I'd be I don't think they're going to be trading Deebo Samuel this year. Next year may be a time
We
where
have
they
it.
look at
Yeah.
trading him, because that's when his salary cap is really going to be high, or when his salary hit is going to be high on the salary cap. So if they're going to trade Deebo, it's probably going to be next year, I would imagine. As far as like who I want them to trade, I would. There's no like particular player I want them to trade, but I would love to see them free up that Kinlaw spot, because he just unfortunately does not seem to be able to stay healthy. And he's going to cost about $5 million. If they trade him, they could save about $2 to $3 million. And what they really need to target is, there's three positions the 49ers need to seal, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
For the first one, most important, is quarterback. Maybe we have that with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance already. That's yet to be determined, but maybe we do. After that, it's going to be that right tackle position. So they need to go after somebody to play that right tackle to upgrade over Mike McGlinchey, which is going to be tough.
Absolutely.
I don't even know if that player is out there, and I don't know if they're going to be able to upgrade at that position. And the other third position where they really need to focus on is the interior defensive line, nose tackle type player, like a 300-pound type guy.
Yeah.
That can stuff the run and rush from the interior. So if they are going to trade, I hope they would trade for one of those positions.
Here's okay. So I do think that you were talking about like the interior defensive line, and I think we have a topic for this later on. But what do you think about the 49ers getting Jadeveon Clowney? Maybe he wants to come here for a smaller deal, come and compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it. I would like it. To me, though, the thing is, it's the third most important position on this team. The 49ers they're spending a lot of money, right? They're extending Nick Bosa. Armstead's making a ton of money. If I'm going to trade somebody, honestly, it's going to be Armstead, because I don't think his production matches his pay. Not that he's not a good player or can't be a really good player. It's just, for the amount of money that we're paying him, which I think is like $25 million, I think roughly, for his production, $25 million is just way too much. So they could free up a ton of cap space by trading Eric Armstead and maybe finding someone else to come in. I would take a Clowney if you could trade Eric Armstead, but having Armstead and Bosa on the team already and then signing Clowney, it just seems like you're really spending a lot of money on the third most important priority right now, where I think that money would be better well spent on the offensive line. You saw what happened to the 49ers when they played the Eagles. They just could not stop the pass rush. It was the third most pressures of all games in the NFL. So the 49ers really got to focus on that offensive line, in my opinion. If they're going to keep Eric Armstead and extend Nick Bosa, I don't really see them being able to afford an expensive defensive line guy.
Yeah, I completely agree there. I think the 49ers think that defensive tackles they can get in the draft. I think they're going to spend at least, I think, 2 picks in the draft with defensive tackle. And then I have this guy on, I've created a note of him, but I need to real quickly look it up. He's a really interesting prospect that the 49ers could get in the 5th round. He's a defensive tackle prospect. Real quick, I'm just looking him up.
Sure.
Carl Brooks, look him up.
Mm-hmm.
So Carl Brooks from Bowling Green, he's a defensive tackle, massive dude, like over 300 pounds, and is a pure run stopper. Reminds me a lot of DJ Jones. So look that guy up. And if they can draft somebody like that, then maybe if they can draft defensive tackles in the later round, then maybe they can look elsewhere. Like you said, when trading, like I think they need to trade or address the right tackle position in free agency. And then they need to draft the defensive tackles, because I think it's easier to find defensive tackles later in the rounds than a right tackle or a defensive end. So,
yeah. And they also might trade up in the draft to get a right tackle. That's another option. There's actually a few good right tackles in the draft, but they're going to have to trade up in order to get them. They're going to be gone probably by the second round, middle of the second round. So if the 49ers can, they have 3 third-round draft picks. If they can somehow package those and maybe some futures to move up into the middle of the second round, I think they have some options there at right tackle as well.
Yeah, it is a decently deep right tackle class, I've heard. I mean, I haven't really gotten into it too much, but let's get to some of the comments. Franchise, hold on. Franchise says, "What's good, y'all?" And then Coach Dante says, "What up?" And then Franchise says, "Do you think the 49ers sign a quarterback to put pressure or hold on, my gosh. Do you think the 49ers sign a quarterback to put pressure or more competition on Brock and Lance?" I think we already answered that. So and then David McNiner is in the chat. Jimmy is a term of endearment. We ain't horns with James Garoppolo anymore. Oh, homies. My bad. Okay. So let's go to the next. Would you give Nick Bosa more? Well, do you want to cover this a little bit more, or I think we
You tell me, brother.
covered. I don't know if what you hear. I mean, we could quickly. Would you give Nick Bosa more help on the edge by drafting an edge rusher with one of your first picks, or would you roll with the guys you have?
The 49ers typically do a good job finding edge rushers, in free agency guys, no-name guys that are kind of written off. And so hopefully we re-sign Minhu and they just can find some of those guys. The 49ers D-line coach does a great job coaching them up and making them play above where they've been able to play in the past. So I think that's probably how they're going to approach it and maybe draft a couple. Also, Drake Jackson, I expect to make a big sophomore leap. So the edge I'm not too concerned about with 49ers. That might be my fourth priority. It's really the interior, which I'm hoping they address. But yeah, I mean, I think you can always build up D-line. The trenches are the most important thing. 49ers got to really fix that offensive line, but then defensive line should be a priority as well. So I don't know about drafting one. Probably they're going to, but hopefully not early. I want them to really focus on the offensive side of the ball.
Whatever happened to Amenahue? Like, is his whole domestic violence thing, what happened to that? Did that get cleared up? Or
I don't know the details of it, but the 49ers decided to let him play in the Eagles game. So they must have decided that it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, moving on. Do you trade Deebo Samuel? Let's touch a little bit more into this. Do you trade Deebo Samuel now, or do you wait a year to see if his stocks go up and then trade him? I would say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I would say Deebo Samuel. I mean, there's kind of a risk to both because if you trade him this year, his stock isn't as high. I mean, I don't know if you could. I don't think you could get a first round pick for him. But if you trade him next year, like maybe he has another injury year and his stock is even lower. I think if you're the 49ers, I would kind of tend to agree with what you said earlier. If you're the 49ers, you wait a year because if you're Kyle Shanahan, you could always just give him a bigger workload than you did last year. If he shows up to training camp fit and not overweight, you can give him a bigger workload and then his stock will go up. So it really all depends if he shows up to training camp in the right shape, because I think a big thing for why his production went down last season was because he didn't start off the season right. He didn't start it off right. So he needs to go to training camp, be in shape, and then we'll give him a bigger workload. And hopefully if he can prove that he can handle a bigger workload, then yeah, we will trade him.
Yeah, I think he wasn't really focused on the season last year. It was more about his contract and where he was going to end up being last year. So hopefully he's 100% focused this year going into the season. He's in top-notch shape. And honestly, he doesn't cost a lot for the 49ers this coming year anyway. So really you can afford to keep him around. Plus, like you said, he didn't have the best year, so his stock's not really high. So hopefully what happens is he comes back in the best shape of his life, has a phenomenal season. And then the 49ers have that option of trading him after the next season if they feel the need. They may or may not, but Brandon Ayuk's going to be doing extension, and I don't know how many of these guys are going to be able to continue to pay. Personally, I think with CMC, Deebo is a little bit more expendable, and Brandon Ayuk gives you something that Deebo doesn't. So I'd like to see them keep Ayuk based on this last season. But again, we'll see what happens this coming season. If Deebo takes off and has another season like he did last year, my opinion could change on that.
I don't know. Like, if he has another big season, would the 49ers kind of do what they did with Eric Armstead or something like that? Just, well, like, would they keep him around? Like, it's hard to cut ties with people that have just come off of a big season, and it's hard to like trade him. So if he has another big season, it's like, do you really want to trade him? That like, will the 49ers cut ties with him? I mean, it would be hard to, because he's just come off this monster season, hard to let him go. So it's like, I don't know, maybe, I mean, if you could get a first round pick for him and then draft a receiver to replace him, that's cheaper. That's the ideal option there. But then again, there's not really any, like, Deebo Samuel's a different talent. So like, there's never a guarantee that you'll be able to fully replace him. And that's the thing that scares at least me the most.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think having CMC changes things. If the 49ers didn't have CMC, they would
True.
definitely need Deebo a little bit more. But I don't know if we're ever going to see the production that we saw from Deebo 2 years ago or last year, now that CMC is here. Unless something happens to CMC, knock on wood, he stays healthy. But with CMC, he's going to be taking a lot of those touches that Deebo was getting last year. So I don't know if we're going to see that level of production. It's a TBD, but I do know that Brandon Ayuk is to me, he's only true wide receiver on the team. And so if they lose Brandon Ayuk, that's a big hole that they're going to have to fill with somebody. Where, Deebo's targeted 3 yards per target 3 yards per reception last season, I think, which is,
yeah.
I mean, that's not those aren't receiver numbers. The 49ers need at least one wide receiver. And right now they only really have Brandon Ayuk. So losing him would be tougher for me than losing Deebo, to be 100% honest. But we'll see. I mean, in this year, again, Deebo's not very expensive this year. So it's really a non-issue this year.
You think, do you think that the 49ers will go kind of to bolster that receiver room? Do you think they'll go early on receivers this year in the draft because they have third round picks or 2?
It's possible. I know this guy, Tay Martin, that's on the practice squad. He's pretty talented. They believe in him, of course. And then they also drafted Danny Gray, which I think, he might have a big season. He's really was drafted with Trey Lance in mind as a deep threat.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens with Danny Gray and Tay Martin. But I definitely could see them going after receiver, but I don't know how early they're going to be going after receiver. If you see the 49ers go after, a receiver early, the writing's kind of on the wall for either Deebo or Ayuk. So,
well, we'll see. It's all going to be very interesting. Ryan, you've got places to go, so I will let you go. But everyone, this has been a great show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, buddy. Thanks for having me, Ben. Appreciate you reaching out to me. Glad I could be here for you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone, I'll probably be back tomorrow with the Hawk's Nest. Go look him up. So that should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. So yeah, we'll see you guys then. Go follow Ryan. If you haven't already, you guys have probably all heard of him, but go follow him at his YouTube channel, Ryan G. Hensley, and then on Twitter as well. So links in the description. Go do all of that good stuff and like and subscribe this video. We'll see you guys later. Go Niners.
Thanks, buddy.